Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Foundational Fathers podcast, where duct tape still fixes most of the things that we deal with.
And dad jokes
Yeah,
fix the rest, Nick.
of course. And then what those two things, technically what those two things try to fix doesn't always work out, but Jesus Christ is still the foundation holding the whole house together.
Let's go, Nick.
Yeah. So we are streaming pretty much everywhere. Well, recorded anyway, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, audible.com, as well as a proud partner with Faith Points TV. So wherever you're joining us today, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I just want to point out, like, when you said Apple Podcast, it almost sounded like you said apple pie at first. At least maybe it's because I'm hungry.
It's because you're probably hungry.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're building men who build families, who build legacies.
Yeah. And of course, I'm your host, Nick, aka the mute bass player, and alongside
I'm Marcus, the Philippian, here to make sure Nick doesn't get too serious too fast.
It's too late for that already this morning, man. Today's guest, though, is a man who is all about equipping fathers to lead with purpose. He's been the voice behind the Dad Academy, helping men step into the intentional leadership inside their homes. Jeff Hamilton, welcome back to another episode of our Foundational Fathers podcast.
Hey, hit the applause button.
There we go.
Oh, we don't have all the sound effects. I was waiting for a little.
There you go.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Yeah, I was waiting for some bigger announcement. Guys, great to see you, Marcus. Great to get a chance to meet you. I didn't appreciate. I don't know what I did to offend you to make you miss our first session.
It wasn't you, sir. It
was probably
I understand.
Me.
As we talked about before, I mean, it's hard when the guest is so strikingly handsome. I know that it sometimes, invokes fear.
Yes,
for sure.
In other people. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
yeah, guys, great. No, thank you again. And what a fun episode. It was a little intimidating yesterday when we started talking about some of the questions that we wanted to chat about, but I'm really looking forward to this. And I'm looking forward to our initial segment first, because when I was on the first time with Nick, he did not properly prepare me as a host. I am a dad of grown children. I am a coach working with teenagers every day, and he didn't tell me that we're going to have a dad joke segment, which I didn't realize was such a big part of your community. And I totally choked, like, Jeff, tell me your favorite dad joke. It's the only time I've been at a loss for words in my life. So I'm ready today. So let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah.
So before we actually get into the dad jokes, Jeff Hamilton, Dad Academy.
Yeah.
We got to do it. We got to do something we like to call our guest roast. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Some dads, get away with just a slight introduction, but not on our show. No. Jeff Hamilton.
Just remember, I'm rubber and you're glue. What you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Oh, yeah. That's where we get all this extra week. Oh, guys. So welcome, Dad Academy champion Jeff Hamilton, who he didn't just become a dad. He became the headmaster of fatherhood. That means, like, he didn't just read parenting books. He assigned them. Didn't put his kids in a timeout. He enrolled them in a character development seminar.
Other dads say, go clean your room.
Yeah.
Jeff says, son, today we're exploring the theology of stewardship.
Yeah.
Your kids don't get grounded. They get leadership evaluation.
Yeah. Progress report from home. A in math, B in reading, needs improvement in honoring thy father.
And somewhere right now, a dad is yelling at his kid, why can't you be more like Jeff Hamilton's kids?
And Jeff kids, they don't just roll their eyes. They submit a written reflection.
3 pages, MLA format.
Yeah. But for real, man, Jeff is doing something powerful, helping dads not to just exist, but to lead.
And we're going to dig into that today.
Yeah. But of course, like Jeff kind of alluded to, we have to endure the dad joke section.
Dad jokes.
Yeah.
Now, before we start, we need a moment of silence for the ultimate dad jokes, because in all seriousness, I don't know if you guys caught this on the news today.
Yeah.
I'm not making this kind of joke, but it does, because he's the king of this kind of joke. Actually, at 86 today, Chuck Norris died.
Mm,
and,
yes.
When you think about all of the great jokes, like when my wife told me that this morning, I was like, oh, you mean Chuck Norris killed death today?
Yeah.
But no, he actually passed away, and the king of the dad jokes, right? So many of the best dad jokes are Chuck Norris jokes.
Oh,
What a life well lived. So we're gonna have a moratorium on the Chuck Norris jokes today, or we should have dedicated this whole segment to Chuck Norris.
Yeah,
today.
I wish I would have known ahead of time that he was going to. He was going to go home to be with Jesus, and
yeah, exactly right.
So we could do it proper. But
actually, God asked Chuck Norris if he would come home, if he was ready to come home.
But you know what?
And he didn't die until he gave God permission.
Exactly.
But
here we go.
In honor of Chuck Norris, though, don't worry. Our dad joke section will get a little chopped up.
Yeah.
Oh, bump.
All right, let's go. Why did the Easter egg tell a joke? It might get cracked up.
Actually, I thought most Easter eggs were afraid to hear jokes because they were afraid they were just going to crack up.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
No. Okay, Marcus. Well, you know why the bunny went to church?
Why is that?
Because he wanted to find some hair-raising truth.
Well, that's what we do. We're trying to do some of it today.
Yeah.
What do you call a tired Easter egg?
I don't know, but I'm feeling it's going to be exhausting.
Yes, egg exhausted.
Oh, but Jeff, you know why the tomb was so quiet? Because everyone was speechless.
Hey, that is biblical truth. Besides Mary,
except for the angel.
Yeah,
he's not here.
Yeah, Mary was crying quite a bit.
Yeah,
where'd you take?
There we go.
And there was a sudden earthquake before all the silence, but
But
that's called autumn here in California.
Yeah,
earthquakes.
True.
So,
I thought that was called every day, but okay.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, eggs, they don't like to argue.
Nope, they don't,
because they don't want to scramble up the situation. No? Okay.
What kind of music do Easter bunnies like? This is an easy one. Hip hop.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. I
thought that you were gonna say hair metal.
Hey, that's also true.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
That's a long-haired rabbit. Yeah. Why did Jesus fold the clothes in the tomb? Because even in resurrection, he was still orderly.
I thought you said that he didn't want to disappoint his mom.
That's also probably a very true statement. I shouldn't.
You mean you did this big thing that everybody's going to see, and you're going to leave your room a mess like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, but Mom, it's not my room. It was just a Motel 6. They left the light on for me. But I'm sure Jeff came prepared with some hair-raising humor.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Got anything for us?
Well, mine tend to be. Remember, I'm with teenagers all day, right? I don't have to entertain, my little kids. Although I took the kids to the zoo last week.
Yeah,
I'm planning on going back to see how they're doing next week.
Yes.
Love it.
What's green and fuzzy, has 4 legs, and will kill you if it falls out of a tree on you? A pool table.
Oh, very true. Very true.
There we go. My obese parrot died last week.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a weight off my shoulder.
Mm.
That should be enough, I think.
Okay.
yeah.
Or one that's appropriate for California that might be a little, give some insight to the warpedness of my mind. But what happens when you what do you get when you cross a chicken with a coyote?
I don't know.
A coyote.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Oh man. Well,
he didn't disappoint.
No.
Oh, thank you. I was ready, and just so that as a repeat, so that Marcus, the only one I came up with last time was a priest and a rabbi and a pastor walk into a bar. The bartender looks at him and said, "What is this, a joke?"
Yeah. I have a biblical one that I like to tell.
Okay.
I'll save that one for last.
Yeah.
All right. I'll say that one.
You know what?
Okay.
People out there, Jeff really likes to bring it on Easter Sunday from the pulpit sometimes. You know what you call a Jeff Hamilton Easter sermon that goes too long?
Every Sunday?
A resurrection of patience. Yeah. And you know why Jeff likes to hide the Easter candy for his kids? Because he needs to feel like he has quality control.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start giving the answers to our serious questions are going to start falling in line with the level of expectation you've created for our audience today.
Yeah. I mean, Nick,
Oh,
I think you got to give me some more creative control of these jokes here.
Yeah, but Easter, Marcus, is the best dad holiday because it proves that dead things can come back, like your motivation to a diet.
That's right. We're going. That's right. We're getting back at 75 hard.
Next.
For me, that's like 75 minutes.
Yeah.
It's whatever I can do in 75 minutes. That's
yeah.
That's 75 hard. Waiting 75 minutes between meals, right?
Yeah.
Reading 75 words.
Yeah.
Burning 75 calories on the elliptical. That's 75 hard for me.
That was Nick's 75 hard.
Oh. I try to do at least a 7.5 second sit up.
Oh, there you go.
Going back down to the ground, well, that can take all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Man.
We like to, of course, joke around here, but I think it's time that we acknowledge those ministry partners before we get a little deeper in this conversation,
like the stone that hit Goliath.
Yeah. So instead of making it like a jump rope and just skipping over it, here's a shout out to those ministry partners that keep this show moving. All right, fellas, before we jump back into this episode, I need to take a moment to honor the companies and ministries that make the Foundational Fathers podcast possible. These aren't just sponsors. These are mission partners. They believe in fathers and in families, and most importantly, they believe in the power of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
We got Sasquatch Gun Oil. If you care about your firearms, your tools, your everyday carry, and your gear running the way it is designed to run, you need Sasquatch Gun Oil.
This stuff keeps equipment clean, smooth, and reliable.
Use code FFP316 at checkout for an exclusive Foundational Fathers discount.
Because Jesus still saves, but your rifle and your beard still need oil.
Let's talk about Sabbath coffee roasters, the fuel of early mornings, late nights, devotion time, and legacy building conversation. Sabbath coffee roasters.
Purpose-driven, faith-forward, and roasted with excellence.
Whether you're opening your Bible, heading to work, or leading your family, this coffee meets you where you are.
Drink coffee, read Bible, and of course, lead your family. And we have pretty good wood turning. So if you're looking for a gift that actually meets something where you want it to meet, not mass-produced pieces of junk, let's talk about pretty good wood turning. Handcrafted tumblers,
Custom wood gifts,
pieces built with purpose.
prayer, and precision.
This is legacy-level craftsmanship, perfect for dads,
Pastors,
mentors,
and leaders. Hi, Joe Girl Golf Apparel. Now let's talk about looking good while standing for truth.
Yeah, Hydra Girl golf apparel is respectively rebellious,
Dangerously drippy.
faith without apology.
Whether you're on the course, on the street, or showing up boldly in everyday life, Hydro Girl helps you grip it, rip it, and look good doing it.
And of course, we have our newest sponsor, Legendary Real Estate Media. Real estate media made easy. So easy.
It's legendary.
Absolutely. And of course, we couldn't do this without the folks over at the Intentionally Uncommon Initiative, where the heartbeat behind what we do is found for foundational fathers.
Because average fathers don't build strong legacies. Intentional, uncommon fathers do.
This initiative exists to push men out of passivity and into purpose.
Through discipleship, leadership, and spiritual direction,
You weren't called to be average.
you're called to be uncommon.
And you can find this particular program on Faith Points TV, amongst other platforms. But this Faith Points TV platform is our broadcast home, our partner in the mission. And of course, it just helps to extend our mission field. Faith Points TV is where
Podcast meets preaching,
testimony meets truth.
families meet faith-centered content.
So if you're watching or listening right now through Faith Points TV, welcome to the mission.
We don't just air here.
We build here.
Well-
So, fellas, again, every one of these partners fuels the mission so we can continue reaching fathers, families, and the future generations with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Support those who support the mission. Back the brands that back the kingdom impact.
And speaking of backing, now let's jump back in to the episode. All right. Now, thank you out there to those ministry partners again for just being the brands that back this community and well, they back my dad jokes.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to lose them after that.
It's possible. All right, Jeff. We're going to step back in to this conversation, stepping in to something that every dad is navigating right now. Depending on how you grew up, this can feel clear or complicated.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about truth, leadership, and how dads can lead well. Easter ways.
Yeah.
And not just eating their Wheaties,
Yeah.
but also during Easter.
Yeah, Easter League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday looked like failure. The disciples didn't see a plan. They saw a body. Every dad listening knows that feeling. When things don't go how you thought, when your kids are watching, when you don't have answers. But Sunday, yes, Sunday reminds us God is working, even when it looks dead. That truth still stands. And that leadership isn't about having all of the answers. It's about standing on what's true. So, Jeff, Marcus, let's talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, Jeff, I want to start here because a lot of dads hear the Easter story, but they don't always know how to translate it into something their kids can actually live out. Okay. So, how can dads use Good Friday and Easter to teach courage and trust in a real everyday way?
First of all, it's a lot easier to read the questions and to answer them. Although it was probably actually, I mean, first of all, to the audience, I really appreciated the thoughtfulness that Nick and Marcus bring to this subject. I'm the founder of Dad Academy. I'm not just an influencer. Consider myself a coach and a mentor because I've actually raised my kids. My son is 30, married. My daughter is 28 and pursuing her dreams, God's dreams that He put in her life, in her heart for her life, and they both love and follow Jesus despite growing up in a pastor's home. I've been a senior pastor for 25 years, and in vocational ministry, dating all the way back to 1988. Some of our listeners probably weren't even born in the 20th century. So these kind of questions are really important. And I really love this first one because when we're talking about like one of the, if you don't mind, like you can see that on the title of Dad Academy, it's about, oh, this is the Spanish version. Hey, for any Spanish speakers out there, I forgot that it just got released in May. But the title of the book is Raging Courageous, Capable, Confident Kids. And courage is a uniquely Christian value. Because what we see in the cross is there's one of the most important moments in Jesus's model of humanity is in the Garden of Gethsemane. Before all this gets started, He makes a prayer that I think should be the prayer of every dad, right? Hey, if there's any way that I don't have to do this, take this away from me. Nevertheless, I think the greatest prayer a dad has to learn to pray is the nevertheless prayer, right? Nevertheless, whatever is the circumstance I'm facing, God, not my will, but your will be done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the place where courage really starts, where courage and trust begins, where we begin to model for our children and teach them the principles. Hey, if Jesus could step into the things that were ahead, because remember, it's my opinion, according to what we see in Philippians chapter 2, where it says that Jesus laid down all of the rights and privileges of being God, right? When He came to earth, He was not omnipresent, right?
Right.
I don't think that I think it goes along with all of the other attributes that we attribute to the Godhead. He laid those privileges aside. Jesus said, I only say what I hear the Father saying. I only do what I see the Father doing, right? So He was reflecting a life in His humanity of one that maybe could be a model for us of being empowered by the Holy Spirit. And so He makes this prayer that in His own flesh, I don't know what's ahead of me. I think I have an idea, but I want to be, and I wish that there's another way. Nevertheless, not my will but yours be done. And He walked with great courage. Because remember, the word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which means heart. And I think it is a dad's job. You can only, here's how I define, interestingly, here's how I define courage. Courage is how trust or faith responds to trial.
Mm. Yep.
And so Easter is such an important model for us, because what does Jesus pre-tell His disciples before these events? If anyone desires to follow me, he must do what? Take up his cross.
Yep.
Now we may think, oh, Jesus already knew that. I don't know how to figure all that kind of stuff out. Maybe that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I don't think God. My opinion. Now I'm being clear when I'm stating an opinion rather than an agreed theological stance. But if God laid down all of His privileges of Godhood, my opinion is that Jesus was walking down one of the roads where the Romans were trying to display their authority and their power, right? Because crucifixions were happening along the main entrances to every road that was dominated by the Roman Empire to assert a level of fear and intimidation. And Jesus, how many times did he say to his disciples, you're going to have to lay down your life. Whoever wants to find his life must lose it. Right? Whoever, take up your cross and follow me. He's teaching the disciples to live their lives with courage, knowing that they can trust God in these situations. And so the Easter story is a great way for a dad to begin to cultivate courage in his children by knowing that they can be dependent upon God's plan. Because Jesus even said, "Hey, if you tear this body down, it will be resurrected in 3 days." Right. So there was already some things that he was demonstrating his trust in the Father by committing himself to the will of God. And the will of God not only impacted his life, but we sit here today, thousands of years later, as the beneficiary of the courage with which Jesus lived and the trust that he placed in the Father.
Yeah.
Amen for that.
I love that. And, I also like that each and every day, each and every way, as a father, if we go to the Father each and every day in each and every way, whether it be through the word or being in prayer with him or being in communion with other brothers and taking along that struggles that we have to the Father, it is a good example, a good way to teach that, hey, no matter what happens today, I have faith and trust in God that he's going to get us through it no matter what the situation has. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to start off this Easter episode. Really gives us a moment of deep thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I really wanted for this episode too, is just to kind of get that deeper conversation going,
Yeah. Because, on Good Friday, it looked like everything was falling apart. And it looked like the next day was a pretty grim one, and that life as the disciples knew it was over. So a lot of times in our own life, when Friday is looking bleak, and we are hoping for a great weekend, that bleak Friday really does throw a curveball and a damper on our situations in life. And so how do we help our kids understand that trusting God, even when life doesn't make sense, is worth it?
Well, it sounds funny, but that's actually a simple answer. But I'm gonna, just for the sake of our listeners, build this case, right? And I'm gonna come back around to it. It's really the simple idea of that anybody can take something good and make bad come of it. Only God can take something bad and make good come from it, right? That's the Romans 8:28 principle.
Yes.
But it's also about understanding how God has revealed himself to us. What was the end statement that concluded every day of creation? God looked at it and said, what?
It was good.
It was good. Now here's where I'm going to maybe show off some of my theological chops for a minute, but I want you to go on this journey with me.
Okay.
Was Moses present for the creation story?
No.
Right. But who is attributed as the author of Genesis?
Moses.
Right. So if he wasn't there, how does he get this story? Or what's the importance of this story? Because most likely, where was Moses documenting or journaling these kind of, especially the book of Genesis? What time in Moses's life, or what was going on in Moses's life when God was downloading these stories to him?
They were in the wilderness.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
And where had they been before the wilderness?
Egypt.
And
That's
captured
right.
in slavery.
That's right. So for 400 years, this idea of this God who was for them and was called them as his own special people, that sure didn't seem like a very wonderful experience, right?
Right.
How many times do you think in 400 years, 4 centuries, that God's people of promise were going, this doesn't matter. This doesn't mean anything. And so God is reintroducing himself to his people in the wilderness. And while they had had some rituals and traditions that were related to their religious practice, the ongoing dynamic of the rhythms of their lives, of they're not going to the temple. There was no temple. They're not going to the tabernacle. The tabernacle hadn't even been invented yet.
Mhm.
We don't even know what their worship practices were that were handed down from Abraham through all of this time, what made them unique. So God decides to write a story to reintroduce himself to the people. And he could have said anything. And in the story that he begins to use to introduce himself to people as a way to describe his power, he does 2 things. He points to the things that they can already experience, which is of creation, right? The
Mhm.
light and the dark, the earth and the waters, the things that grow on the ground, the animals that are moving. And God looked at all the things that he had done and he pronounced what? It's good.
Mhm.
And he wanted people who didn't know him, if they were going to build a relationship with him, they had to have a foundational belief. And the foundational belief is that God can take nothing and make something good from it. And so the foundational understanding, if we're going to walk with God, is that God does good because he is good. Before we even get to the idea, you won't trust someone that you don't believe is good. You won't love someone that you believe isn't good. And so the story of all this is about that no matter what we're walking through or what we've experienced or maybe even what our history is, God is good and he can be trusted to do good. Why do you think the word good is attached to the day we remember his death? Because God can bring something good from something that was intended for harm and for evil. And so I think it's a really important dynamic. In fact, if I could offer one piece of dad advice to all the guys that are out there, my favorite services as a pastor every year are the ones that usually don't get a lot of promo. Like, I think every family needs to go to church on Christmas Eve. Why? It's Jesus's birthday party,
Mhm.
right? Like, we're celebrating him and we have families that won't find time to honor him, right? Thanksgiving. Well, I always have a service on Thanksgiving Eve. If my wife would allow me, I would have a service on Thanksgiving Day. The whole thing is called Thanksgiving, and yet we often rarely, other than a quick little prayer around the table, make time to give thanks to God, to honor him.
Mhm.
And man, I think we celebrate the resurrection 52 times a year, but we only celebrate his death once. And I think it is important to commemorate and reflect and remember his death on at least on this annual basis. I think that dads, if you lead your family by participating in a Good Friday service, we remember that all of the goodness that comes from God happened because he laid down his life for us. And it's a reminder of the model that he asks of us. If you'll trust me with your life, if you'll take up your cross, if you'll die to yourself, then that's where we begin to experience the eternal, everlasting resurrection life that God has in store for us. And I think because we tend to want to jump through the hard things, what's one of the, you tell me, do you learn more lessons from the good times in your life or the hardest times in your life?
Oh, from the hardest times
Yeah.
for sure.
Definitely.
So we forget that we were made to go through hard things. They're the things that shape us. They're the things that make the good the good. And so I think it's not morbid to remember that he's in fact, as a dad, Jesus actually makes that kind of our mission statement. For the Son of Man, Mark 10:46-47. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Man, dads, we got to figure some stuff out. We think that when we become a man, it's about being served. It's about being obeyed. It's about being in charge. No, you become a man when you start to figure out that your life is not your own. It's not about you being served, but it is about serving and giving your life away.
Yeah.
And I think Good Friday, I think that should be at the Father's Day celebration, because it reminds every man, my life has the greatest value when I lay it down, when I'm willing to serve a greater purpose.
Yeah. And that, I think, is also a good way to show that you trust. Like you're saying to your children or to your spouse, saying, hey, I trust God, but it's lip service without actually. Say faith without works is dead, right? So if you trust God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, then the actions that you are doing throughout the day and whatever it is you're doing, whether it is work, play, or serving, should be showing that you trust in Him.
Yeah,
in the hard.
It's interesting, Nick. What book did that verse come from?
You know what?
Faith without works is dead.
I want to say,
who wrote that phrase? It was James. Are we good?
Yeah.
My internet just kind of flashed at me. It was James. Yeah. And James, who at the time of the writing was probably the head of the Jerusalem church, had a special relationship with Jesus. Mm-hmm. He was Jesus's half brother.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So when he says faith without works is dead, this is a dude who didn't confess belief until after the resurrection.
Yeah.
And so he watched his physical brother, right, in the same home,
right,
growing up. How hard is that to be able to say about your brother?
Yeah.
Right. And yet, like there's something so powerful about someone who's observed your life saying, hey, what I saw from this dude, it's the real deal. Mm-hmm. And it's actually something that I'm trying to model my life after. And if you're not living your life in a way that reflects what you believe, you're missing it. That's a incredible witness to the power of Jesus's life.
Yeah, I can only imagine what James was going through when Jesus was always keeping his room clean, and James was like, man, he made his bed. I guess I better. Otherwise, I look like the devil here.
Yep.
Well, if he was my brother, here's the funny thing that I think about, because I have a brother. He's 18 months younger than me, and we lived in a room all the way through our second year in college. We shared a room our whole lives, and my brother would say that he got disciplined just for being associated with me at times, just for being in the same place. So I always wonder, like, if Joseph just rounded up, we know that there are at least two brothers, James and Jude. Mm-hmm. Wonder if he just rounded up all three of them. Hey, you guys get in here right now. I'm sick of you disobeying your mom. And Jesus like, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. Oh, you were with them. So
yeah, sure.
I think sometimes when we think about Jesus, I don't want to overplay the humanity side of this, right? Because we can go into all kinds of different theological challenges when we try to separate the divine from the human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I do think it was what a miracle and a mystery that those two were combined in such a way that Jesus was able to experience all the things that we've experienced, and still lived a model for us, which is really what the power of the resurrection is. And one of the questions that you guys sent over to me was, we have not every home is the same, right? We've got
Right.
people who are co-parenting, blended families. Life in these days is not easy being a dad. And there's so many different, there's so many different situations and challenges that come. And yet our hope is found in that if we are following Jesus in his example, Paul says that I would share in the fellowship of his sufferings so that I could share in the power of the resurrection. It doesn't matter what our current circumstances in, that if we will allow, my favorite verse is Romans 5:3. We rejoice in our sufferings because suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance, character. Right? God is shaping our character. And he's wanting us to become, Romans 8:29 says, and those he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the likeness of his son. God's destiny for each of us is to become more like Jesus. And the way that happens is to be able to endure suffering so that we can experience also the power of the way that the resurrection impacts our lives. And so it doesn't matter what the circumstances is that we find ourselves in, that in each one of those situations, God is using them to conform us to the likeness of Christ so that we might be a reflection of Christ to those people in our lives and in those situations. And so
that's awesome. Yeah, I really love how he brings that one home.
Yeah.
Because a lot of dads out there listening right now might even be saying, well, I'm not really a pastor like Jeff is. I don't know the Bible like he does. I don't want to mess things up and say something that's off key or far out in left field. So what, Jeff, is the simple first step for me as a dad to lead something meaningful inside my house at the dinner table, maybe even this Easter?
Well, I don't think that there's a time when we gather at the table, especially for a holiday that's related to our faith, that a dad shouldn't lead his family in communion, because that's what Jesus did. Right. Later on, we'll talk about the Passover implications of Easter and how we came to where we're at. But as the priest of your home, Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me." Right.
Yeah.
And what was really cool about this particular event is this. I will state an opinion here. This is a pastoral extrapolation here, but there's only two things on every Jewish family's table every single meal, which would be bread and wine. Now, it may not have always been the Passover matzah, but it's a reminder to me how God takes the most everyday items, and when he takes them in his hands and blesses them, they become transformational. And I think that if a dad, you don't need to have a degree. You don't need to have any. In fact, Jesus did this not in some big ceremony. In fact, he used it in the everyday kind of life or ritual that they were remembering, and he gave special value to it by bringing attention to it. And I think a dad doesn't have to have all the answers. I think what he has to do is just realize that this is a special moment that we just need to pause for a moment. And when we take this moment and we find some type of ritual or build our own family tradition that points us back to Jesus, and I think the easiest is the ritual of remembering that at these family gatherings, again, in my whole life, there wasn't a Sunday Easter meal. There wasn't a Thanksgiving meal. There wasn't a Christmas meal. That when my whole family was sitting around the table, that we didn't receive communion, because we're just following the simple instructions that Jesus says, do this in remembrance of me. And we want to remember the sacrifice and the promise that God has for us. And you don't have to have all the right words. You just have to be able to say, Lord, thank you for this bread. We know that it represents your body and the promise of wholeness in our lives. Okay, guys, go ahead and eat. And this little cup of grape juice, which I don't know a kid that doesn't like grape juice. Right? I don't care if it's in a Capri Sun pouch. I don't care if it's in a juice box. It doesn't have to be formal or anything. But this is representative of Jesus's blood. And remember, it says that there's life in the blood, and Jesus's shed blood for us, covers the payment for our sin and offers us new life. That it just has to be super simple. And I think those are the best kind of traditions to begin conversations. Your kids are not expecting you to have all of the answers.
Yeah.
But they do expect you to initiate the conversations.
Yeah. So you kind of touched base on this a little bit. Not every home is the same. Not every home could be as simple. We got dads who are listening. They're co-parenting. They're in blended families, or they don't control every environment their kids are in. So Jeff, how does a dad lead consistently when the kids are going back and forth between different influences?
I've not had to have that struggle in my own life. But I watched other members of my family and close friends kind of navigate this kind of thing. And I think we're more worried about the procedure than we are just about our being present. The answer to every question every dad has is just one. Keep showing up.
Mm.
Hey, Jeff, what do I do? What do I do with this? Keep showing up. Okay, well, how do I address this? Keep showing up. Well, I'm not quite sure what to do because it's hard right now with my kids' mom. Keep showing up. Like, just keep being there.
Yeah.
Just whatever are the opportunities, because you can't impact where you're not present.
Yeah.
Right. So the simplest, I don't have a great like program or answer to some of this. All I would say is when you're be present, and when you're not present, be praying.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, because what you were saying, keep showing up. My response is if you don't know the answer, more Jesus.
Yes.
Like if you don't know the answer, more Jesus. Like keep showing up, and then keep going to the Father. Keep that constant flow happening. Because we were talking about like how do you lead without becoming a controlling or a discouraging,
or being discouraged yourself,
or becoming and like I think a lot of that time can be done with the keep showing up, as well as more Jesus.
Yep, keep praying.
Yeah. Yep. So I do love that, Jeff.
It's being a dad is simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right. You just have to keep showing up. That doesn't mean that it's easy. Right. But it's not complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, there's lots of important. In fact, I'm prepped for some of these other questions, but I want to because I'm ready. But I coach baseball, and guys, I coach basketball and baseball, and I love both of those sports for as a tool because they remind me, that there's not an NBA player in history who made half of his shots for his career.
Wow.
That in baseball, you only have to do your job 3 times out of 10 and you'll be an all-star, make $1 million.
That's true. Yeah, I never thought about that.
You only have to hit 300 and you'll go into the Hall of Fame. If you can make 40% of your baskets, and most of those baskets are shot within 3 feet of the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and you still miss half of them. If you can just be correct 30% of the time, you're an all-star dad.
I'm going to remind my kids of that. That's for sure.
All right. I think we put way too much pressure on ourselves for these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And if there's not many things that you can accuse men of doing this with, but overthinking being a dad is a problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I as a dad, I overthink a lot, and it's not just with my kids; it's everything. So
yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's lean into this overthinking and this tension that might be caused because of this question.
Yeah.
So if a dad says, I want to focus on the Passover and the biblical roots and not even use the word Easter, how does he explain to his kids without making them feel like they're the only ones not doing what everyone else is doing?
Okay. Now, to our audience, I'm going to offer opinions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the cultural saying about opinions, that they're similar to a body part that all of us have. So I'm not saying that you have to agree with me, but I can tell you what my approach has been. And then we actually see it through Jesus' example, I think, if you can extrapolate this principle I'm about to say. Jesus is walking by a field. We don't know if it's full of wheat or whatever. And he says, hey, look, the harvest is ready. He says, the kingdom of God has a harvest that's ready, but the workers are few. Pray that the Lord would bring workers to right? What did he do? He used this visual and this thing that people were accustomed to and brought a spiritual significance to it. I think that we see it in the call of the disciples. Hey, you caught much fish? No, we've been out here all night. Throw the net on the other side.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I'm a professional. What are you talking about? Throw them on the other side. They take up so much that they can't. Jesus says, from now on, I'm going to make you what?
Fishers of men.
And they're probably like, what?
I think that there's a lot of times as Christians, we overcomplicate some of these things. I rarely see somebody, unless you've actually been to one of the most powerful things that you can do actually is attend an actual Seder. I mean, this is one of my Dad Academy principles, was about the rituals and traditions that tell you who you are. For 5,000 years, Jews gathered together to rehearse the night that they were delivered from slavery. And it was around a meal. And they use every sense, right? They use listening, they use seeing, they use tasting, they use physical sense of touch as they touch different things, as they are connected to each other, right? As they taste the bitterness of the salt water and of the herbs, as they eat of the lamb shank, of the lamb that had to be prepared. Because remember, the lamb that was sacrificed on Passover was also used to dot the doorposts, right? All of this is to remind them of telling the story. And I think sometimes even that is a part of our story. And if anybody is interested, there's all types of great references out there to see how Jesus was actually embedded into the code of the Passover Seder, into the meal. In fact, a lot of people don't realize that when Jesus says, this is the cup of the new covenant, It was actually the cup of redemption. There's 4 cups in the Passover Seder. And this third cup was called the cup of redemption, where it says, I will bring you out. Mm. It's when they remember the word of the Lord. And Jesus says, this cup is of the new covenant. I'm not just going to bring you out of slavery, right? We're going to break the power of sin in your life, right? And so Jesus was the king of adapting situations. And I don't think that it's any fault of our own that we've taken things that happen in our culture and tried to make a connection that points back to God. So the idea that there's ancient religions that would use springtime to remember new life and fertility and offer all of these kind of sacrifices, it's not accidental, is it, that Passover happens in the spring, that Jesus's death, right, happens at springtime? Why? So that new life comes forth. I mean, you guys, that's kind of the history of telling the story. Now, I don't think, I regrettably was part of the 80s and the 90s when Christian bands would take secular songs and try to put Christian lyrics to it. I think a moment of shame for all of us in the musicians in the history of contemporary Christian music. But like one of my greatest, one of my favorite missionary stories, if you haven't read it, this book is probably now 50 years old, but it's called Peace Child. It's about a man who went to, have either of you heard of this book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Peace Child is the story of a man who was called to be a missionary that went to one of these tribal people groups who would have never heard of the gospel. They have no written language. They have no, verbal stories only. And this is in the 50s and the 60s. And he couldn't barely communicate with them. They didn't know what to do with this white man. He began to kind of live among them and just try to become a part of what's going on. But these 2 tribes used to war, and they were cannibals. And he's like, this is the most horrific thing that I've ever seen. And the only way that war would stop between these 2 tribes is each of them would offer an infant as a sacrifice to bring peace between the tribes. And this man says, we don't need to do that anymore. There's already been somebody who has died to bring peace between God and man together. And he was able to take this cultural idea that mankind just kind of made up to be able to share the gospel. And now all of those tribes began to place their faith in the God who created the world and who gave the ultimate peace child. Like, I don't think we need to be afraid of the cultural connections. I think they become possibly a really powerful tool for us. And so, so I am somebody who sees the story of the scripture being kind of told through things that people already understood or were already experiencing, and God saying, I did this, or here's the principle behind this, or here's why this happens. And so if you're going to use Passover, which I think is a powerful tool to describe Easter, you got to be able to show how it also shows Jesus through the whole thing, right? But I also don't think that we need to be afraid of bunny rabbits and colored eggs and, Christmas trees. Halloween's a little bit different for me because of the spiritual implications, but I didn't resist my kids, growing up, dressing up in costumes. I think that there's opportunities for us to use things that are in the culture to explain the story of Christ. One last little sidebar. You know what was one of the I can go expositionally through verses. I got a 16-week study guide on the book of Proverbs that no, I'm not saying this because I think it is. People have told me this was life-changing to see the principles, the life principles and the wisdom that is contained in the book of Proverbs. I've done I've done Revelation. I've done the 10 Commandments. I do these big series. You know, it's one of the most memorable series that I've ever done at our church. And people still remember and talk about it all the time. It's called The Gospel According to Disney. And I use a Disney film as an illustration for biblical spiritual principles because people understood those stories.
Yeah.
And when I was able to use it as an illustration, not as a proof text, but as an illustration of spiritual principles, then some dots start to connect for people. And so I think wherever a dad can use situations or circumstances to help their kids connect a spiritual understanding dot, man, it's worth putting in that kind of time.
Yeah, and I think like being relatable to, kids might have, different views of different things, but when we're trying to share truth with our kids, being able to relate to them on their level, I think is where the proof is in the pudding, because, Jesus even did that to the disciples around him. He had to relate what it meant to be disciple of Christ by saying, I'll make you fishers of men, because they understood what fishing was like,
Exactly right. Exactly.
The tax collector, he had to make it relatable in order to get him, under the feet of the discipleship of Christ, like just being able to walk in those footsteps, as opposed to, and even Saul, like having to, like become Paul, he had to relate to what the things of God were in on his level so that he could. But my favorite, like Bible character, only because I'm not that tall, would be Nicodemus. Like everything had to be brought down to his level. Ta-tong. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Paul. I mean, one of the greatest cultural adaptations of sharing the gospel was when Paul said he was in Athens. He's man, I see all these temples. I see all these altars. And you guys, you even have an altar in a temple to this thing that you call the unknown God. Guess what? I know him.
Mm-hmm.
I know who he is. And the most powerful words he used, because it's in him that we live and move and have our being. It was created an opportunity for the sharing of the gospel in such a way that they were like, they knew that they were missing something. So I am not downplaying the story of Easter or the empower of the Passover. But I do think that there's a way without compromising our spiritual integrity. Now, I don't want any dad to compromise his convictions. I want you to stand for your convictions, because your convictions are going to be the things that define your family. Yeah. But I don't want us to be so fearful, or maybe like the Pharisees, who were so concerned with the defense of, or the presentation of truth in a way that it was only acceptable or digestible when you came from a certain perspective. I think there's all types of ways. We understand that the Trinity is something that we'll never be able to figure out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But have you ever used that? I mean, which of us haven't heard, the Trinity is like water. It's physical, it's steam, it's some of us have used or maybe I think Easter, while it's imperfect to a child, the explanation of, that Easter egg, that's kind of like how God is, like how we have the yolk and the white and the shell, but it's one. That's kind of how God is, the three in one. Now, that illustration falls way theologically short, but to a 7-year-old who's just starting to consider some of these conversations, it might be a helpful intro to the conversation.
That's true. I love that.
I'm looking for ways to kind of connect some dots with my kids when it comes to faith, when it comes to understanding the power of God at work. And I think that's what the early church did. Is use these kind of things that were already happening in secular society and showing how they could illustrate an eternal truth of who God is.
Yeah. So before we move on to our last question here, I just wanted to ask Nick to verify something for me. Did you mean Nicodemus or Nehemiah?
No. I meant Nicodemus because I'm Nick.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
Although Nehemiah, that's a pretty good one right there.
Did you? You were probably thinking of Zacchaeus, which was also a wee little man.
Wee little man.
But no, Nicodemus.
A wee little man was he.
Yeah, a wee little man was he.
Yeah.
Climbed up in the sycamore tree for the Savior for to see.
That was the Shuhite.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, he was the shortest one though.
Oh, okay. Shuhite. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right, Jeff. So we kind of touched bases a little bit on this earlier, but a lot of people see and hear things online about Ishtar. Okay, the fertility, eggs, rabbits. There's a lot of noise around that. So a dad who has values and who values truth, how should dads process that conviction?
Well, if that's your actual conviction, and it's not tied up, again, guys, I'm going to be clear when I'm offering an opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's the way that I approach my pursuit of Jesus, which I think is an everyday, practical, dynamic walk. Following Jesus is listening to him and obeying him, is cultivating a daily relationship with him and discipling others. It's kind of my definition for discipleship using the acrostics Lord, right? What is a disciple? Someone who listens, someone who obeys, someone who continues to build a relationship with God and who disciples others. So that's my worldview. Okay. So my worldview is that there's also something about the world that we live in that is my job to help connect dots. And I do understand that there is, for some, a clear conviction to be able to draw some lines in their life. And I think in doing those kinds of things I don't think any child inherently thinks of ancient pagan religions when they see bunnies across the room.
Yeah.
But because I understand that, I specifically in our church spring decor do not include bunnies.
Yeah.
Right? Because just because they're cute, it's not worth tying that story in for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something that I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
And so what I think is that sometimes we parent out of fear and ignorance more than conviction.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage any dad that as we start to develop the convictions for our family and what our values are going to be and why we do things, the thing that we need to remember is that wherever we're parenting from fear means that we're not parenting from love. Yeah. Paul writes to Timothy, perfect love casts out fear. And so I think that when you're developing these convictions for your family about what we're going to do, I have plenty of friends that I know who are, not pro Christmas tree. Now, I would kind of say that if you're going to follow that model, if you're not about bunnies, and because of the ancient, I mean, we're talking ancient pagan religion that is before the formation of most modern society, going back prior to Jesus.
Yeah.
If you're going to hold to those kind of traditions, then like you probably need to rethink Christmas, right?
Yep.
You probably need to rethink 4th of July.
Yep.
Because we're pledging some kind of allegiance to something other than to the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be able to carry that all the way through. And it's okay if you do. It comes at the cost of two things. Number one, are you willing to help your kids navigate the kind of isolation that may produce, which is okay, right? A dad has that right. And a kid's going to be able to survive a little peer pressure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you're going to have to develop a consistency across the board so that they understand, like, no, we apply this holistically in our family because of this conviction. And when you do that, your kids are going to grow up with a good sense of conviction. They might not make that own choice when they're an adult, but at least they can respect why we did this. And you got to have some good reasons. And as long as you can articulate your reasons well, then I'm going to stand with you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to stand with you. Neither should you judge me because my decisions are other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've made intentionally informed choices about how I want to lead my family.
Yeah.
To be able to on like a holiday like Halloween, like, I don't think that there's anything bad about dressing up. We never dressed up as witches. We never dressed up as ghosts.
Yeah.
We never dressed up as Harry Potter, right? Because I do believe in this spiritual reality. But it gave us an opportunity, to talk about All Saints Day,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which happens the next day.
Yeah.
These people who are martyrs who have gone before us, right? And this was a day that actually the world co-opted.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Hallowed Eve is something they're like, okay, now we're going to Fat Tuesday and Mardi Gras precedes Lent.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't need that. That was something that the world co-opted from us.
Yeah.
So I'm a support any dad who walks through some kind of conviction. I just ask you not to do it out of fear.
Yeah.
That it's done with love and it's done with a conviction that is consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Because the thing we don't want to lose is that the story of Easter is the story of how one man's death brought life to everyone. The story of Christmas is how God set aside his right so that he could draw near to us. And we have a bunch of holidays that are still ahead. It's interesting that all of the Jewish holidays have been fulfilled in Christ except for one, which is now Sukkot, or Tabernacles, where he will come again and establish and live with us forever.
Yeah.
And so there's some cool stuff when we start getting into all of this. But I just encourage Dad, man, the reason why Easter is important is not just as a holiday for our Christian lives, but I think it's important for us as dads to learn to have spiritual conversations with our kids ongoingly, because those are the things that God uses to help form them spiritually. And I think we all agree that that's a dad's primary job, is to prepare his child's heart to respond to the love of God.
Yeah, because it does say in the Bible, train up your child in the way that they should go, so that when they are old, like me, they won't depart from it, right? So I feel like whatever a father's convictions are, whatever their choices of the matter of how they raise their children, it should be uniform across the board, like you said, as well as, with a firm foundation involved,
Definitely a firm
Sure.
Definitely. So, like, I feel like when we place our beliefs and our trust in God, that our our views start to align up with him, because we're having this daily communication between the Father God and us every day, and then our life is filled with his Spirit, so that the communication that we have with our children becomes different than if we were just, shooting at the hip, hoping it lands somewhere close to the center of the target.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to say, the one thing I enjoy about having people on like you, Jeff, and just having these conversations that do go a little bit deeper, because Scripture does call us to be set apart, and we really want to know what that looks like. And but from the words in Proverbs 13:12, he says to walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And that's what I like about this show, is that we get people on that we can walk wisely with, right? Because like, you're a wise guy, and not in the comical kind of way, but
Right.
but yeah, like we get to share this knowledge and this information with not just ourselves but with others too, to hopefully and equip other dads out there to have the conviction and hold true to it, and then to like you said, keep on that firm foundation, follow Christ.
Yeah.
Because ultimately,
I'm honored by that compliment, because I don't consider myself to be smart but man, these kind of conversations, and the one thing that I hope that the audience listening today would understand is that guys are meant to share this journey of fatherhood together, just like what we're doing right now, because of there's such a dynamic of a learning community. In the modern world, if we were to disciple somebody, Jesus would have found one dude, gave him everything he needed for 3 months, sent him out, found another dude, 3 months, sent him out. In a year, you'd have 4 guys, and in 3 years, you'd have 12. You had the same number of guys.
Yeah.
But they would have done life individually. And I think Jesus's model of having 12 guys learning how many times does it talk about the disciples talking amongst themselves and having these kind of conversations and creating environments for dads to have these conversations? And just so you guys know, and the audience knows, that's all Dad Academy is.
Yeah.
Like, do I want dads to feel more confident and to have a plan? I think guys are always more effective when they have a plan and an idea. That's kind of what we were talking about today, right? Like, what's your plan? How are we gonna navigate Easter? It's such an important thing. We want to do it right. We want to maximize this opportunity. Well, I want yes, that's what I hope guys will take away from Dad Academy. But I didn't create Dad Academy to make better men. To create better dads. I created Dad Academy as a topic of conversation that got guys talking about the most important thing in their life.
Yeah.
Right? It's meant to be not just a book that some dude reads. It's meant to start discussions among guys to be able to share their life so that they can learn from each other, just like what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And so I hope there'll be a special on the Dad Academy website that any of the audience from Foundational Fathers, if they want to check it out, we'll get a special form. But the thing you got to do is you can't just buy one book. You got to buy 2, not because I'm trying to make money, but because you got to share the journey.
Yeah.
With somebody else. And if I can make one more plug, it's not for Dad Academy, but Nick's got his books up, The River Between Us and Unmuted. And while I enjoyed the story and the parallel of the river, I really want to commend Nick for the authenticity and the vulnerability he presented in his Unmuted book. I think it's something that is often missing in men, but I don't think you really know a guy until you know his story. And the fact that you were able to put yours in print and be able to share that with us, I honor you for that. And for the audience who hasn't checked it out, I would encourage you to pick up a copy, and it will encourage you to share your story, and that you don't have to be perfect, and that God can work in the midst of any circumstance.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeff. It, like I say in the book, everybody does have a story. So I was just able to tell mine. And So many of us get caught up in our own life that we forget that the life that we choose as a father and a follower of Christ is being laid out for us if we would just be in constant communication with God. And, it took me a whole 16 years to realize that God was foreshadowing something in my life 16 years prior to all my troubles. And if I had just listened to the warning signs, things would have been a lot different. But, as at the same time, I am grateful that God was with me those 16 years to be able to do something different with it. And so
you only have to hit 300, bro.
That's right.
You only have to make half your shots.
I was going to say I probably hit around 150 on that.
Hang in there, guys. We're good. We're in good shape, man. So,
but at the end of the day, it's not about the holiday or holidays. It's about where it's landing with your identity and who it's found in, because it's not about who you are, but whose you are.
Well, we often forget when we use the term holiday that it's really an abbreviation for holy day.
Yes.
I love that.
Right. A holiday. I mean, legitimately, that's where the word comes from. And they just begin to spell it differently. The holidays we celebrate are holy days.
Yeah.
But any day that we walk with our attention focused and we walk with Jesus, it too is a holy day. Right. So, and we are called holy, as a people. So that means that we're complete and we have whatever it is that we need. And guys, I appreciate you making some time today. Nick, I know we were trying to get something on the books and schedule something. I'm not so good at scheduling things like 2 or 3 months out, but you call me up the night before and be like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" I'm like, "Bro, let's go." I'm much better with that, and love this conversation. With you guys. And Marcus, what a super dope to get to meet you today. And thanks for another invitation. I appreciate that, because I want to continue to build community to our foundational fathers. Please visit us over at dad.academy. We have a weekly Thursday email called Fuel for Fatherhood that goes out. But however Dad Academy can support the community of foundational fathers, man, I really see us as partners and collaborators. And I appreciate you sharing your platform with me, and I hope that we can always bring some value, even if it's not within our jokes.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and guys out there listening, Jeff is going to be back on in a few weeks, so we are not done listening to what he has to say and enlighten us with all of his knowledge, theologically or just because he's old. But either way,
easy there, man. I just put my hair color in. It shouldn't be too.
But his. He at least can wake up in the morning and look like that. It takes me a good hour and a half, at least, just to get out of bed before I.
Oh what do you? Yeah.
As you are.
We won't even go down that road yet. Wait till I tell you, when you start hitting your 50s, you wake up in the middle of the night just because you got to go to the bathroom 7 times.
I'm already there. I'm already there. But anyway, guys out there, seriously though, if you're watching right now and this is this God that we've been talking about, this Jesus that we've been alluding to around this time where we're talking about the resurrection and the death and the resurrection of Jesus and what it means to us. This holiday hits differently than other holy days, because without this particular act, our sins would not be forever forgiven. Our stains would not be washed white as snow. Our lives would not have purpose like they do now. So this particular holy day is something that we shouldn't take lightly, that no matter how we are talking to our kids, we should talk to them, like Jeff said. We should take time and lead in moments, whether it be around the dinner table or if it's in the car and we're taking our kids to school. Pretty much all of the above should be happening They don't need perfect theology. They need a present theology, which means they need a present father. They need someone to live out the truth. They need a dad that's willing to say, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So if that's something out there and you want to have this relationship with Christ right now, that maybe you're wrestling with some things in your life and you're like, I don't have it all together. It's okay. We still don't have it all together. And, I've been walking with Christ for quite some time. And so the beauty behind it is that more and more that I become like Christ every morning, getting up, reading his word, talking to him, the more that I realize that I've been trying to lead my family in all the wrong ways until I surrendered my life to Christ. So I want you to be able to have that chance right now. So that starts today. Jesus didn't stay in this tomb, and neither does your story have to stay stuck where you're at. So if you've never given your life to Christ, today is your day. So just bow your heads with me and repeat this prayer. Dear God, I thank you that you sent your son to be born into this world and to live as we do, but yet sinless, and that you brought him all the way to the cross with a purpose to die for my sins, to be the spotless lamb that takes away the sins of the world, and that again on 3 days you rose him from the dead, defeating all of death and sin in the process, and bringing me new life, new chances to walk in the light of you and to be resurrected myself in order to follow you for all the days of my life until we meet again in heaven. And I pray right now that you will come into my life and clean every corner of it, and that I would be able to live my life out for you. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
And if you prayed that prayer with us today, I want to say, along with Marcus, welcome to the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff too?
And Jeff, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's the old man brain. Yeah. I'm still working in it. But welcome to the family. We want to give you a chance to get connected, whether it's on the Uncommon Dads at intentionallyuncommoninitiative.org or at dadacademy.com or
your local church.
Dad.academy.
Oh,
Dad.academy.
Academy. So definitely reach out to us one way or another, and we will get you plugged into a church, whether you're in California where you're only needing to wear sandals right now, or you're in Illinois and you still got to figure out if you're wearing boots one day or maybe boots in the morning and sandals in the afternoon, depending on what the weather decides. But we're so honored to have the chance to be able to point you in the right direction, be able to give you that chance to follow Christ the way that he intended, and to be the father and the leader of your home that he also intended.
And if this episode challenged you, share it with another dad.
Yeah. Like, comment, and subscribe, and share. And remember that together we can build foundations that last.
We'll see you next week.
Peace out.